My girlfriend's best friend, Chelsea, framed me for cheating because she had feelings for me, and when I exposed her, it ruined her reputation. Jenny, my girlfriend, tried to cut Chelsea out of her life, but Chelsea didn't take it well. The situation got worse, and it all escalated at a time when I needed peace the most. It started during my last semester of college when I had an important assignment worth 40% of my grade. Somehow, I ended up getting a 0. Confused and panicked, I emailed my professor, who told me I had submitted a blank document. I immediately checked my submission and saw that all of my work was mysteriously gone. I broke down. This assignment determined whether I would graduate, and I had promised my late grandmother that I'd be the first in my family to earn a college degree. I went to Jenny for comfort, telling her about the incident. To my shock, she gave me a sly smirk and then revealed that she had deleted my assignment. I couldn't believe it. When I asked her why, she coldly responded, "For cheating." I was confused. Then she showed me screenshots of a Tinder profile, supposedly mine, that Chelsea had sent her. I was stunned. I explained to her that it was my old Tinder account from before we started dating, and to prove it, I downloaded the app and tried to log in. As expected, I couldn't log in, since it was an outdated account. But Jenny wasn't convinced. She kept yelling, asking why Chelsea would send her the screenshots if it wasn't real. I pointed out that Chelsea had been manipulating her, but she refused to listen. That night, we went to bed angry at each other. Chelsea's manipulation didn't stop there, though. A few days later, Jenny and Chelsea walked past the cafe where I was working with a classmate on a project. I waved and smiled at them, not thinking much of it. Later, Jenny confronted me, accusing me of flirting with my classmate. She said Chelsea had been whispering things to her about how close we were sitting and how I must have chosen my project partner because I wanted to get with her. No matter how much I tried to explain that it was just an innocent school project, Jenny wasn't hearing it. Chelsea's words had planted doubt in her mind, and once again, it spiraled into a massive argument. I had always felt like I was competing with Chelsea for Jenny's attention, and I pointed this out to her. I reminded her about a time when we had a long-planned date at a fancy restaurant that she had been looking forward to, but she cancelled at the last minute because Chelsea had just broken up with her boyfriend and needed her. I had waited weeks to get the reservation, but as soon as Chelsea needed her, I was pushed aside. It wasn't an isolated incident, it happened often. Every time Chelsea needed something, Jenny prioritized her over me. When I brought this up, Jenny became defensive, insisting that Chelsea was going through a tough time and that I was being selfish. I tried to explain that Chelsea always found a way to come between us, but Jenny refused to believe that her best friend would lie or try to sabotage our relationship. It was clear that no matter what I said, Jenny's trust in me had been eroded. By the time she grabbed her keys and stormed out, I was left standing there, feeling defeated. It seemed like there was no way to win. Later that week, Chelsea invited Jenny to a party. Chelsea pitched it as a chance to unwind and clear her head after all the tension between us. I thought it was a good idea, hoping that some space might help ease the strain. I didn't think much of it. At the party, everything seemed fine at first. I was across the room catching up with some friends, laughing and just enjoying the night. But Chelsea must have spotted me from across the room because I saw her lean in close to Jenny and whisper something. Whatever Chelsea said, it changed Jenny's whole demeanor. I could see the shift from where I stood. Jenny's relaxed smile turned cold, her expression hardening as she walked straight toward me. Jenny confronted me again, accusing me of flirting with the girls I had been talking to. I was completely caught off guard. I told her that we were just talking, nothing more, but she didn't believe me. Chelsea had poisoned her mind yet again. Jenny was in tears, claiming that I had never cared about her and that I had been lying all along. She stormed out of the party, leaving me stunned and heartbroken. The next morning, Jenny came over, and I could tell right away that something had changed. She silently tossed her phone onto the table, and I saw that the screen was lit up with a screenshot of what looked like a flirty chat between me and another girl. My heart sank. I knew right away that it was another one of Chelsea's lies. I tried to explain that the chat was fake, but Jenny didn't believe me. She told me she couldn't trust me anymore and that this was the final straw. I pleaded with her, telling her that Chelsea had been manipulating her from the beginning, but Jenny was convinced that her best friend wouldn't make something like this up. No matter what I said, it always came back to Chelsea. I felt powerless. Frustrated and desperate, I started digging. I scrolled through Chelsea's old social media posts and found subtle, Passive-aggressive comments where she mocked me and questioned Jenny's judgment for being with me. The deeper I looked, the worse it got. Chelsea had been planting seeds of doubt about both me and Jenny for a long time. I realized that her bitterness wasn't just about me. She was jealous of Jenny too. Chelsea's resentment went all the way back to high school, where boys liked Jenny more than her, and Chelsea never got over it. With all the evidence I had gathered, I confronted Jenny again. This time, I showed her everything: the social media posts, the fake screenshots, and the passive-aggressive comments. As she looked through it all, I could see the disbelief and pain on her face. For a moment, I thought she was finally starting to understand the truth, that Chelsea had been manipulating her for years. But instead of accepting it, Jenny froze. She refused to believe that Chelsea, her best friend, would do something so twisted. I pressed on, reminding her of how Chelsea had always been jealous of her, especially in high school when a guy Chelsea liked had confessed his feelings for Jenny instead. Jenny admitted that Chelsea had never forgiven her for it, but even then, she struggled to accept that Chelsea would sabotage our relationship. Jenny was torn. Part of her knew the truth, but another part of her still clung to the belief that Chelsea was her loyal friend. Finally, I decided to confront Chelsea directly. I called her out on the lies, specifically asking about the fake chat messages she had sent Jenny. At first, Chelsea brushed me off, but when I pressed harder, her story started to fall apart. She couldn't keep up with her own lies, and I knew I had caught her. I went back to Jenny with this final confrontation, hoping she'd see the truth. This time, she couldn't ignore it. She finally saw how Chelsea had twisted everything and driven a wedge between us. Jenny cut ties with Chelsea that night, but it was too late. The damage was done. The trust between us had been shattered, not just by Chelsea but by Jenny's own doubts. We had a long, painful conversation where Jenny admitted she had been wrong to doubt me, but the scars were too deep. Even though Chelsea was out of the picture, the lingering damage to our relationship couldn't be repaired. We weren't the same people anymore, and we couldn't go back to how things were. In the end, we both agreed to break up. It wasn't a dramatic ending. There was no yelling, no anger left between us, just a quiet, mutual sadness as Jenny walked out of my life for the last time. The weight of everything settled in, and I was left alone with the bitter sting of betrayal, knowing that Chelsea had won in the end.